Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's the author of the book Surrender to Joy From Suicide to Serenity, none other than Miss Susan Michel. Welcome, Miss Susan, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah, it's so great to be here, Daniel. Thank you for inviting me to be a guest on your show. And my book, as you mentioned, is entitled Surrender to Joy From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which I have been studying for over 30 years. And A Course in Miracles is my path to peace, love, joy, and happiness. Before I found A Course in Miracles, my life was pretty much a mess. I couldn't understand anything, and I had so many unresolved feelings in my unconscious mind that I didn't know how to process. Which led to my suicide attempts. I had two suicide attempts at the age of 21. And I speak about that, write about that in my book. That was the most horrific chapter in my life. 5 years later, I found A Course in Miracles, which completely transformed my life. A Course in Miracles talks about how the only thing that's real is the love, but you need to uncover those hidden pain points and bring them to the light in order to transform them. So it's been an incredible healing journey for me.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Susan. Thank you. The phrase surrender to joy is powerful in the context of your journey. What did you have to surrender? Was it control, certain narrative, or fight itself to begin finding your way?
Yes, it was definitely control. I grew up with a very controlling father. I grew up with two parents that were extremely uncomfortable with emotions and feelings. So I I was taught to be a control freak. I tried to just control everything. And that's where I thought my safety lay. A Course in Miracles teaches the exact opposite. The only way we can access our true power is by surrendering control to God, as A Course in Miracles calls it, and as I call it, but you don't have to call it God. It's just this power of unconditional love that we are a part of. A Course in Miracles is very different than religion in many ways. Religion teaches that God is this entity that is outside of ourselves, that we need to worship, that we need to pray to. A Course in Miracles is saying, no, God is something that you are a part of. God is the sun. We are all rays coming from the sun. God is the ocean. We are all waves coming from the ocean. But in order to access that power that is always available to us, we need to release control. You know, the control that Course in Miracles says comes from the ego. We need to release that control, and we need to surrender to this power that is greater than us, but that we are a part of. It is the power of unconditional love. And we always have a connection with that power, but we need to focus our mind and surrender to it. We need to, God is always there wanting to extend his love to us, but we need to open our heart. And I love that word that you brought up that I entitled my book. We have to learn to surrender to it. We need to learn to trust that God is always guiding us. God is always directing us. And I entitled my book, Surrender to Joy. When we can access that joyful mental state, we are more able to hear God's voice, who is always speaking to us. We need to learn to surrender to it. And we need to learn to surrender to joy, because God resides in an extremely joyful state. So when our vibratory frequency raises itself, elevates itself to a state of joy, we are more able to hear God's words of wisdom. We are more able to be conduits for miracles, which A Course in Miracles teaches us to do.
Can you describe the specific quality of the pain that made suicide feel like a logical solution rather than just emotional one?
The pain points that we need to uncover are in our unconscious mind. So they are hard to identify. We all have pain points which originate in our childhood that are in our unconscious mind. And the only way we have access to them is when life triggers us. So, and I write about this in my book about trigger. A lot of times triggers, which we consider to be negative, are actually our teachers. Because when life triggers us, when something happens in life, when someone hurts our feelings, what happens is this can remind us of a pain point from the past, most of the time from our childhood years, that has not yet been processed. And triggers in life allow the darkness to come to the light so we can see what's inside us, so we can see what needs to be healed. And when we can actually learn to sit with that pain, to own that pain, that's how we can transform that pain and release that pain. As children, we all have trauma. Just about everyone I know has certain traumatic events that have happened to them. And if they had the right emotional tools to own the pain as children, it wouldn't get stuck in their unconscious mind. But because many of us, myself included, have pain points in their unconscious mind that has not been processed, the pain ends up leading our lives. So that's why when the universe triggers these pain points and they come to the surface, and we can learn to own the pain, sit with the pain, give it to God, this is how the pain can transform itself. Chapter 2 in my book is specifically about that. There is a brilliant poem by Araya Mountain Dreamer entitled The Invitation. And one line in the middle of her poem states, I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without trying to hide it or fade it or fix it. And that's what most people are incapable of doing, owning the pain. But when we can really own the pain instead of blame the circumstances, instead of blame people, then we can transform the pain, get to the other side of the pain. And that's where the joy is. The next line in that poem states, I want to know if you can dance with joy. if you can allow the ecstasy to fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human, and that joy is available to all of us when we have the courage and the knowledge to own our own pain. Because on the other side of the pain, there is so much joy.
Indeed, so much joy. So, Miss Susan, in the absolute darkness, what was the first, tiniest thing? A memory, a person, a fleeting thought that created a crack for hope to begin seeping in?
When I was in complete darkness, I was 21 years old, and that was right before my first suicide attempts. There were numerous reasons that I went into this state of complete darkness. One was that I was looking to the world to uh, satisfy me. I felt very insecure. I thought that if I could get what I wanted in the external world, it would alleviate my inner angst. I got exactly what I wanted in the external world, but it did not alleviate my inner angst. I felt just as horrible as I had before because I was looking to the world for my satisfaction. Um, Another huge learning lesson that I needed to uncover at that time was I was craving an emotional connection to my father. And my father was very stoic. My father was very unemotional. My father was very unavailable. And I felt so lonely because I could not connect with him. So that is really the cause of this complete darkness that I experienced. Um, my way out of the pain, which I didn't know at the time, was to actually feel these painful feelings. I was shut down. I was depressed. Depression is when we don't allow ourselves to feel. What I really needed to do is I needed to allow myself to feel these emotions that were all stuck in my unconscious mind. The world sees depression and sadness as the same thing. In fact, depression and sadness are not the same thing. Depression and sadness are opposites. Depression is a block to growth, and that's what I experienced. That's, for me, what caused my suicide attempt. So when we can actually experience our sadness, when we can allow ourselves to cry, when we can allow ourselves to grieve, that's how we heal. So if I had known that I needed to allow myself to feel these unconscious feelings, then I could have started the healing process. But because I did not have the tools, I did not have the knowledge. That's what caused the suicide attempt. Since then, I've done a lot of healing. I've done a lot of crying. I've done a lot of sitting with my pain. And I've done a lot of praying and giving it to God to ask him to help me transform the pain into peace.
Miss Susan, how did your internal voice or self talk change during your deepest struggle? And how did you begin to recognize and rewrite that harmful internal narrative?
An internal narrative is extremely important. A Course in Miracles is a book in mind training. We have free choice in this world, we can talk to ourselves negatively, which is going to disempower us, or we can talk to ourselves positively, compassionately, lovingly, and that is going to allow our energetic frequency to raise itself. A Course in Miracles has three parts. It has the text, it has the workbook for students, and it has the manual for teachers, talking about positive self-talk. Each day there is a lesson that will give us a positive message to say to ourselves. So I think what is ultra important, like you brought up, is how we talk to ourselves. And again, we have free choice. We can say whatever we want to ourselves. So really what it comes down to is discipline. It's about mind training, and it's about discipline. I mean, A Course in Miracles is very clear that only the love is real. The introduction of A Course in Miracles states, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. But in order to connect to the peace of God, in order to connect to the truth of who we are, we need to discipline our mind and focus on love. It's more than positive. It's love. We need to focus on thoughts of love. And this is how we can raise our energetic vibration to connect to the truth of who we are, and to connect to our higher self, because our higher self, God, is always talking to us in a loving way. But we need to just open our hearts and focus on love so we can hear this divine guidance. And the divine guidance, it's positive, but it's more than positive. It's loving, but we have free choice. We can talk to ourselves negatively, or we can talk to ourselves positively. The only thing that's going to make us happy is to talk to us with compassion and love. Just like if you look at the cup, you can see it as half full or half empty. It's up to us. We need to focus on what we have. A Course in Miracles tells us the three fastest, easiest ways to connect to that higher state of mind that's based on positivity and love are forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude. So again, internal dialogue is so important.
Miss Susan, as an author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My goals are to share the ideas of my book with the world, because there is so much that I have learned. There are so many mistakes that I have made that I would love to save other people from making those mistakes. If I could talk to my 21-year-old self who underwent that horrific depression, there is so many things I would tell her, so she didn't have to experience that dark night of the soul. So I want to tell young people, especially women, that feel insecure, that it's so important to stop looking to the world for happiness. They need to find that happiness within. It's so important to honor these pain points that everybody has in their unconscious mind, so healing can occur. There's so much joy on the other side of the pain if we can just be still and know that we are God. We are all aspects of God. We are all part of God. But in order to feel that peace, love, joy, and happiness, we need to slow down. We need to trust. So I want to share my message with the world and with young people who are experiencing similar difficulties to me. And I know there are quite a few young women out there who have challenges, just as I did.
Miss Susan, good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success. What would be a piece of advice for those people out there who want to be an author like you?
I would suggest sitting down and writing. I mean, writing can be very therapeutic and beautiful, and I personally chose to work with a coach who helped me clarify my thoughts. So that was very empowering for me. But writing a book was the probably the most amazing experience that I've had. So I would encourage people who want to write to sit down, start writing, maybe look for a coach that could empower them on their journey. I have a wonderful first paragraph in the introduction of my book that clarifies a lot of my thoughts. Can I take a minute and recite the introduction to my book?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So what I wrote when I first sat down to begin my book, I had an insight from my higher self, and what came to me is my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with three simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. So, and I believe that with all my heart and soul. And a big component to accessing that joy is to trust, let go, surrender, trust. And no matter what we're experiencing, there is a lot of joy on the other side of the pain.
Well, interesting, and thank you for that advice, Miss Susan. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Well, the first book that I read that I loved was A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. That was an excellent book. That really, what she does is she interprets A Course in Miracles. Um, there is A Course in Miracles. It is a thick blue book that is amazing. That I would strongly suggest. There is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. That is a wonderful book. Um, there's quite a few. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Um, a wonderful book that I found years ago that helped me immensely, especially the preface. It's an astrology book by Linda Goodman. It's called Linda Goodman's Love Science. And in the preface, she has a lot of writing that's based on unconditional love that's very analogous to a Course in Miracles. So,
Thank you for that recommended books, Miss Suzanne. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review, Music 101 in first season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Susan, if you could leave our audience with one core message about the possibility of moving from one place of profound pain to a life of serenity and even joy, what would it be?
When triggers happen, when pain occurs, don't blame circumstances. Don't blame people. Just own that pain. Sit with that pain. And that is how transformation occurs. Because God is always giving us opportunities to grow closer to Him and grow closer to the truth of who we are. So really, when triggers happen, what we need to learn to do is to be grateful for our triggers, because our triggers are actually our teachers. And when we can sit with that pain, just like that line I recited earlier, I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without trying to hide it or fade it or fix it. You know, so many times the times that I have experienced that were filled with the most joy were actually after the times when I had experienced the most pain. And the reason this happened is because the triggers in my life, the challenges in my life, the hardships in my life actually were opportunities for me to transform the pain, bring the pain to the surface so transformation could occur. We don't grow despite life's challenges. We grow because of life's challenges. If it wasn't for life's challenges, we wouldn't grow to become all that we could be. We wouldn't grow to live up to our potential in life. So my words of wisdom would be grateful for your triggers, be grateful for the challenges, be grateful for the hardships, because when we can actually own the pain, we can transform the pain and find an incredible amount of joy on the other side of the pain.
Yes, Miss Susan. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
My website is surrendertojoy.net, www.surrendertojoy.net. So please visit my website. My book is available on Amazon. There's a link to my book on my website, Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity by Susan Michel. It's available on Amazon. There's an ebook version as well. So I would love listeners to check out my website, check out my book, and thank you for spending this time with me. It's been so enjoyable. I loved your questions.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Susan Michel, because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Susan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you.
Shopify's point of sale system helps you sell at every stage of your business. Need a fast and secure way to take payments in person? We've got you covered. How about card readers you can rely on anywhere you sell?
Thanks. Have a good one.
Yep, that too. Want one place to manage all your online and in-person sales? That's kind of our thing. Wherever you sell, businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial at shopify.com/listen. Shopify.com/listen.
So good.